Catherine Mturi Wairi's reign as Kenya Ports Authority Managing Director came to an abrupt and embarrassing end last week after authorities board ousted her over alleged incompetence. The board appointed Dr. Daniel Manduku, the National Construction Authority Chief Executive Officer, as the acting Managing Director. We look at the changes and what they mean for KPA. And welcome back to News Center. This is our second hour. Thank you for staying with us. Now, 13 of the 27 suspects being investigated by police for their role, if any, in the NYS 468 million shilling scandal surrendered to the police before a court deadline lapsed. 12 turned themselves in last Thursday, one surrendered to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations on Friday. We understand that the suspects are being taken to court this morning, and Hussein Mohammed is following up on that story. Hussein, good morning. What can you tell us about these suspects? How many are they expected to be, of course, in court today?
Good morning, Betty. Well, as you say, 13 suspects, most of them who are businessmen, are expected to come here at the Milimani locals. It is a sit and wait situation here from the journalists to the public. We are awaiting the suspects to be brought in here at the Milimani locals. Betty, as you said, that the 13 out of the 54 suspects that were named by the Director of Public Prosecution, Nudin Haji, whose fraud and corruption charges were leveled against them. We are waiting for the 13 to come here, but tomorrow will be the day when the bail hearing is set for the others. Betty.
All right, Hussein, could you tell us maybe who these 13 suspects are, exactly who they are? Are they the businessmen and women who were involved with the companies that some of them supplied nothing to the NYS? Do we know exactly who these 13 are?
Well, Betty, the 13 of them, most of them are businessmen, but we don't know who they really are. But most of them are businessmen. As the DPP, Nordin Haji, put the names out recently, most of them are businessmen from the companies who supplied. But he insisted that there was no procurement. So we are waiting to see what the court will say. But it's a plea. They're just coming to take the plea today. And tomorrow will be the bail hearing. Just to tell Betty, if they don't show up, maybe the lawyers here tell us that there might be night bond. So we are waiting to see if the suspects will be brought in. Betty.
All right, Hussein Mohammed there talking about that wait and see that we're expecting from the Milimani law courts. We'll be following that with Hussein here on KTN News Center. But moving on, a few weeks after the government closed the enrollment of elderly Kenyans into the cash transfer program dubbed Inua Jamii, many elderly persons do not receive cash because they were locked out. Some now claim the process of enrollment was not that transparent. Our reporter Willie Lisige visited Busia County and met a 101-year-old lady who is not a beneficiary. She tells us her story.
It is just a day after Kenya celebrated its 55th Madaraka Day after it attained internal self-rule. But this word self-rule appears not to have any meaning according to 101-year-old Leonida Gutu. She says she has been deprived her right after failing to be enrolled into the cash transfer program. Her dreams of getting a Kenyan shillings 2,000 stipend every month have vanished into thin air.
Hakuna mtu anaangalia bibi anamupa. Nikienda huko, nikienda kwa chifu alifungusa bibi. Ati miaka yako kidogo kwenda.
The cause of her misery is an error in the date appearing on her identity card. The ID shows she was born in 1952, but in reality she was born in 1917, an error made in 1996. Efforts to rectify this has not borne any fruit. Ironically, her children, who are now older than 70 years, are beneficiaries of the program.
Katembea mpaka Suongo, akamfukuza kwa sub-chief akamfukuza. Hati miaka ikaitoshi, nikarudi Tena nikatoka hapo nikaenda mahali Funyula wakamfukuza. Nikaenda hapa Nangina hapa kwa chief tena wakamfukuza. Sasa mimi ni mjukuu yake. Sasa baadaye kugundua nilikuwa late. Sasa mimi saa hii miaka yangu inaelekea 50 yani inaelekea kuingiza 50 years.
Leonida is not the only one. Many elderly persons aged above 70 years have been barred from registering for this program either due to technicalities or corrupt government officials.
Maafisa wa serikali ndio hawatilii maanani kulingana na hiyo kazi yao. Kwa sababu hata ukiwa mtu kipofu kiwango gani, na uangalie umri wa huyo mama, hawezi sema ati bado hajafikisha miaka.
When contacted for comment, Nangoshia Chief Frederick Ogutu denied sending away the elderly lady, saying he was not aware of the issue.
Wanaleta pesa ya wazee. Na mimi nafurahi ati mimi tapata. Mimi nienda huko nafunguziwa sasa mtoto. Haya, tena nakwenda nafunguziwa mara pili na hivi sasa mimi nakaa. Mimi siende huko, ni serikali ajui mimi.
The program was initiated by government in order to cushion senior citizens against living their sunset years in extreme poverty. The first payment for the new entrants was set to begin on May 23rd. In December last year, Kenyan shillings 1.1 billion was paid out to the first beneficiaries. In the last registration exercise, at least 520,000 elderly people were registered. This now brings to 1.2 million people benefiting from the program. There is need to review the progress so far made in terms of enrollment of the elderly into the cash transfer program. Willie Lusige reporting for KTN News, Oyato Village, Samia in Busia County.
All right, now families that were affected by floods in various parts of Nyanza are now picking up their pieces, ready to start a new life, while some are still stuck to the evacuation camps. Some were lucky to find their houses intact, but those unlucky will have to start building new structures. Kevin Ogutu visited the affected in Kisumu and Homa Bay counties and filed this story.
Ombaka sublocation in Nyando sub-county was probably the most affected by the flooding of River Nyando. Otherwise, no. It was one of its kind that left many homes marooned for weeks, and residents had to use boats to get out of their houses. The water levels have since receded, but the effects are glaring.
Kwa tumepanda mahindi, sasa hakuna mahindi hata kidogo kwa mashamba. Manyumba pia imeharibika. Sasa hakuna mavuno tunatarajia kwa hii mwaka sasa.
Pamela Akinyi, like many other people here, is yet to come back to her house, which is muddy and clearly uninhabitable. She lives at an evacuation camp nearby and only comes here to light the fire to keep wild animals away. At Osodo Primary School in Karachuonyo sub-county, some victims have left, but others are still stuck here for 7 weeks now and counting.
Tuna watu ambao walitutembelea juzi, wakatembea kwa manyumba, wakapata tuna nyingine ambayo tayari zimeanguka. Na kuna zingine ambayo zimeshikwa na matope, itakubidi ujenge.
Many houses are in danger, and I propose many houses to be rebuilt once again. So that's a very big challenge.
Legislators from the affected constituencies are now calling for concerted efforts in averting future cases of flooding.
We should build dikes and also create dams. The dams we create can be useful to us because the water we store can be used for irrigation so that we can manage to grow horticultural crops.
So these are areas where we still need cooperation from the national government. The mere fact that the flooding is no more doesn't mean that the problems that came with it are equally normal. No, we are actually experiencing the aftermath of the floods at a higher level and at a higher degree than it was during that period.
The need for a long-term solution to the flooding menace cannot be understated, but for now the residents will have to count their losses, right from the loss of crops to collapsed buildings. Kevin Ogutu, KTN News, Kisumu.
A clean, well-lit, clearly marked street, clean, flowing drainage systems, litter bins every few meters and a children's playground. Does Dandara come to mind? Most likely not. We are talking about Dandara Ward in Phase 2, where residents pay 3 shillings a day to keep their environment clean. Rita Tina reports on the initiative that has transformed part of Dandara, which has for long been famous for the wrong reasons. Take a look.
Home to the city's dump site, Dandara has become synonymous with garbage, open sewers and crime. Well, that is the Dandara you know. Welcome to the new face of Dandara. Yes, this is in Dandara. A place with a paved street, clearly marked bumps and zebra crossing signs. A place where colorful litter bins line the streets. A place where trees, complete with protectors, are blossoming. Here, you will find children cycling on the street, women basking in the sun. Here, you will find parking space.
Na tulianza kama koti moja ikiwa kama ni mfano.
That was in May 2013 when 3 people formed Mustard Seed, a community-based organization. They started cleaning up one court in Dandara as volunteers. Their efforts caught the eye of the Awesome Foundation, which gave them 100,000 shillings in funding. Money they used to restore drainage systems, put up gates to courts, collect garbage, put up litter bins, plant trees, and clean the alleys. They accomplished their mission, but there was a challenge for the community-based organization, which had grown into the Dandara Transformation League. How to sustain the cleanup initiative without funding.
Tulita community wote wenye wanaishi area kwa meeting, tukawaelezea idea yetu ni gani, so wakabai idea.
The idea was to have the residents pay to keep their environment clean and safe, and while at it, offer employment to the youth.
Kuna kazi hiyo ya kungarisha mitaro, kufagia court, kuna kazi ya security, na pia kuna kazi ya kule kwa garden.
All that for 3 shillings a day or 100 shillings per month per household.
Kwa shilingi 100 tunagawana shilingi 50 inaenda kwa security anayechunga usiku, shilingi 30 inaenda kwa anayofanya usafi, na 20 shillings tunaweka in case of maintenance, kitu yote ki breakdown kama swings, gates.
Then there is this model street. It was paved through the Community Development Fund, but is maintained by contributions from traders who part with 30 shillings a week.
Vijana wakishaenda wafagie, ikifika saa 10 na walid na risiti, juu tuko mpaka na risiti, tunapewa 30 bob kwa kila biashara, then tunawapatia risiti. So hiyo 30 bob ndio at least hao vijana wamefagia, tunawalipa.
But it hasn't been just about cleaning up. The Dandara Transformation League has managed to reclaim several open spaces that had been turned into churches, dumping areas, or even bars. Children now have somewhere to engage in their favorite activity. Then there is this space, a greenery of its kind in Dandara, known here as backyard.
Vijana wa Mustard Seed Court wanaweza wakabenefit kama youth group, ambapo wanahaya ile space kwa kama kupiga picha za harusi, za birthdays.
The UN Habitat has now partnered with the Dandara Transformation League. There are 120 such courts here in Dandara, Phase 2, Ward 2. Courts given symbolic names, such as United Court, to reflect the unity necessary for the success of the cleanup. Ambassador Court, with residents hoping to promote cleanliness in other areas. Believers Court, for residents who have believed in themselves, to Mustard Seed Court, symbolizing the small start of the initiative that has now transformed the neighborhood.
Hii mtaa pia vijana walikuwa nakufa sana, kuuliwa, wizi, pigo risasi, mob justice. Sasa tunaweza maliza mwaka hata tujasikia risasi.
This model street is cleaned every Saturday, while twice a week the litter bins are emptied and court alleys and drainage systems cleaned. All this without any support from the county government.
Tumekutana na viongozi, minister wa environment wa county, tumekutana na wa planning, wote wametembea hapa. Lakini ukweli ni kwamba hatujaipata msaada hata wa shilingi 1 kutoka kwa county katika hii shughuli.
In fact, at some point, the county was seen to frustrate efforts by residents.
Hata kufagia tu ilikuwa mwanzo pale, lazima watupatie barua kwamba wametupatia ruhusa tufagie, kwa sababu wanauliza unafagia mtaa kama nani? Hiyo si kazi yako, ni kazi yao. Wanauliza vile na wao wakati ule wafanye ile shughuli.
The Dandara Transformation League won the Dubai International Award for the best practices to improve the living environment. Neighboring courts in other wards may not have paved streets yet, but are beginning to keep the environment clean with a Changing Faces competition, which seeks to reward the cleanest court, now attracting much more interest.
We are looking forward to going to other places like Kayole, Umoja, Kawangware, Kangemi, and so forth.
Residents here have embraced the initiative to transform their neighborhood. For just 3 shillings a day, they now live in a clean, secure environment. A clear example that it can be done, with the brains behind the initiative hoping to transform other areas of Dandara, one neighborhood at a time. Rita Tinina, KTN News.
That's just fantastic there. That transformation is just worth noting. Now, the Kenya Ports Authority has received 4 eco-hoppers that are set to boost operations at the Indian Ocean Gateway in handling import cargoes like clinker, coal and gypsum. The equipment are first of their kind as they are environmentally friendly. Francis Mtalaki reports from Mombasa.
The eco-hoppers that have been procured at a cost of 600 million Kenya shillings will go a long way in boosting operations at the port, especially berth number 9 and 10 that handle dry cargo imports like clinker, gypsum and coal.
These materials are of various densities. Now the design is such that you are able to accommodate the densities for all these materials. That's coal, gypsum and clinker.
Apart from modernizing port operations, the equipment are one of a kind, seeking to transform the port of Mombasa to a competitive regional hub that is more productive, efficient and sustainable environment, in line with the implementation of Green Port Policy developed in 2014-2015.
As you know, clinker especially is corrosive in nature. So the importation of this set of equipment, we have now made a statement to mean that we care for the environment, we care for our people, and it is under the auspices of the Green Port Policy, which was adopted in the year 2014-2015 by management and the board.
Currently, the port has seen a 60% reduction in congestion from 22,500 containers to just about 12,000 containers, but the Ministry of Transport, through Principal Secretary Paul Maringa, say they are now targeting to cut that number to just 10,000 containers, matching international standards set by cities like Dubai and Amsterdam. Francis Mtalaki, KTN News, Mombasa.
All right, now, Catherine Turi Wairi's reign as Kenya Ports Authority Managing Director came to an abrupt and embarrassing end last week after authorities board ousted her over alleged incompetence. The board appointed Dr. Daniel Manduku, the National Construction Authority Chief Executive Officer, as the acting Managing Director. And Francis Mtalaki now also takes a look at what these changes mean for KPA.
The decision by the Kenya Ports Authority Board to send Catherine Muturi Wairi on compulsory leave has continued to elicit sharp reactions among stakeholders.
Ni masikitiko sana. Unalala usubuhi, unaambiwa uresign kazi, kitambo ungoje barua ama nini, unajikuta ndani ya televisheni umefutwa kazi.
Having been an administrator, it was not possible for her to be able to turn around, the performance as was anticipated, because operational work is a bit tricky.
Lately, she formed a very powerful committee called RRI, Rapid Response Initiative, and things started moving within the port. So I can't understand the reason as to why she's being shown the door with even people who do not understand the port.
Daniel Manduku has taken over the position in an acting capacity until the board gets the right person to replace her. But is he up to the task?
Bringing Daniel will not improve anything. Because one, he's coming out of the industry. he doesn't understand the industry fully. So he might not know the bottleneck that are in the port.
I've always find outsiders to be a bit innovative. I saw this in the year 1999 when we had Brown Ondego.
KPA's managing director position is now becoming a hot seat, a position where nowadays no one completes his 5-year term. Only Gichiri Ndua and Brown Ondego are said to have learned the tricks of working at the port.
Kwani hii pwani ama viongozi wa pwani wana matatizo gani? Na kuna sheria za kufuta na kuajiri.
According to Sang, Muturi's exit was imminent from the start. Congestion at the port and stalled operations were the hallmark of her administration.
I think she opted for the style where you say the in charge of a certain department should be fully responsible. But again, you know, every department needs to be supervised by the central, the central office.
The government have to understand there has been opposition, and there have been witch hunting. There have been Judas in port. So in order for the government to solve these issues of port productivity, they have to look at the nitty-gritties and what are the causes.
According to stakeholders, Kenya Railways and Kenya Revenue Authority were partly to blame for the mess at KPA. Francis Mtalaki, KTN News, Mombasa.
All right, so I want to bring in my colleague Francis Mtalaki joining us from Mombasa to give us more insight into this. Francis, we've heard what a number of people have said in reaction to this particular ending of Catherine Muturi's reign. There are a number of people who are saying this is witch hunt. What else are you hearing from the ground with regard to this?
Well, Betty, some mixed reactions from the ground and specifically from the stakeholders and the political class, given that looking at the history of KPA and the MDs that have been there, it seems that this is a hot seat and no one is everyone who comes to this managerial position as the MD cannot be able to finish his 5-year term. And for Madam Catherine Muturi, who had served here for at least 3 years and being one of the persons that has been working at the Kenya Post Authority for quite a long time in terms of his professional career, and looking at many of the coastal people regarded her as their own. And so for most of the political class are saying that this is witch hunting, and for the women class, the women that is, they feel that one of their own has been denied that opportunity to head one of the critical parastatals that are here in this country. But also looking at the politics that are here in terms of the managing of the Kenya Post Authority, there are those are saying that Madam Muturi lost touch mainly with the junior staffs that are very critical in running the operations at the port. That is something that I've been able to hear from the stakeholders, including the Secretary General of the dock workers, Mr. Simon Sang, but also some of the key stakeholders that like the car importers, also one of the stakeholders like the car importers and other stakeholders are saying that the operations at the port that had stalled for more than a week, they're also trying to create congestion, mainly leading to more than 2 cabinet secretaries to pitch camp here in Mombasa, and specifically at the port. Could be one of the reasons as to why the management and the Ministry of Transport felt that it was time that Madam Catherine Muturi to exit, at least to pave way for someone else to be able to head this parastatal. And also looking at what has been able to happen in the last 4 days or so, where Mr. Daniel Manduku has been in charge, and in terms of the congestion has been able to reduce to at least 60%, given that by last week on Wednesday, we were doing 22,500 containers that were still here at the port. And the capacity of the port to be able to hold the number of containers, it can be able to contain a maximum of 25,000. And looking at what was there, the congestion that was at the port of Mombasa has been able to be reduced to at least 11,854 as per on Sunday evening. And so looking at the targets that have been set by the Ministry of Transport, and specifically I was able to speak to PS Paul Maringa from the Transport Ministry. They are now targeting to have at least 10,000 containers, that is 10,000 TUC. And looking at that target, it seems to be achievable, but also huge in terms of the operations at the port. And many will be looking now to Daniel Manduku. Will he be able to manage that at 10,000 and keep it at constant, so that there will be no congestion and the operations at the port will be operating in a good move in terms of the operations at the port and the contribution to the economy, basically, given that this is the gateway to the Indian Ocean. Betty.
All right, Francis Mtalaki there. Thank you for that update. He is looking, of course, at the reactions following the coming to an end of Catherine Muturi Wairi's reign as the KPA Managing Director. Like he mentioned, this has been a hot seat. All right, we'll take a short commercial break right now here on News Center. Don't go away. We're coming back to continue with our coverage in a few minutes. We'll be right back.